During the week, we have covered some of the emotional issues that need dealing with if our journey to sobriety is to be successful. But of course, in the meantime, you need to stay sober by living one day at a time and just avoiding the temptation, especially when the cravings start. As I've mentioned in earlier videos, our autonomic nervous system does a lot of our everyday functions automatically. Not just the essential functions that keep us alive, but it also learns from and adapts to the lessons we teach it, such as, for example, alcohol makes me feel good. What do I mean by that? Well, when alcohol creates that unnatural spike in endorphins, our brain really likes the sensation. And when our brain finds something pleasurable, it releases dopamine, our feel-good drug. Except dopamine is so much more than that, as it is also involved in our learning and memory. So much so that each time dopamine is released, the association with what caused the feel-good is actually recorded in our subconscious. Now that's fine if we have a healthy relationship with alcohol. Insert your substance of choice, your crutch here, and have many other means of pleasure that result in the release of dopamine. However, as our alcohol consumption and frequency increases, our brain eventually associates alcohol and everything to do with our alcohol consumption as the only means to accessing the feeling of pleasure. That's where it gets serious. But you say, what has that got to do with these daily cravings that I need to deal with? See, at this stage, our brain has become so used to this habit that it now actually anticipates in advance the dopamine hit it is expecting as we near drink o'clock. So much so that eventually our autonomic nervous system even releases dynorphin, which is the downer. I've spoken in other videos, the uppers and downers. It even releases dynorphin in advance to counter the expected endorphin, which is the happy, feel good. So it releases the downer in anticipation of the upper, basically. So now we actually need that drink to get back to baseline. And without it, without it, we would feel low, even depressed, the moodiness, etc. This is where our drinking, or in the case of other substances using, becomes problematic. At this stage, we are slave to the unnatural endorphin spike and the subsequent dopamine release. As our dependency advances, our brain even stops making dopamine naturally from things that used to give us pleasure, relying instead entirely on the unnatural, much higher high it gets from artificial means. We become less interested in life's normal pleasures as they can't compete with endorphin spikes available from artificial sources. This is pretty serious, as we are now on the slippery slope, not just to dependency, but potentially to depression. Wow. So what to do? Seems like becoming dependent on alcohol or whatever substance, regardless of how well we seem to be functioning at work or in general, is not such a good idea. And those cravings, which we give into by making excuses, are far more serious than we realised. Certainly, looking at what is happening in our body, it's no wonder we find it difficult to stop. But knowing what you know now, stopping is no longer an option. The cost of doing nothing, the cost to your health, well-being, your relationships, family, career, etc., is far too great. Now you understand the science behind the cravings and how alcohol and other substances we use to get those unnaturally high endorphin spikes. Now you understand how that affects us over time. It would make sense to reevaluate your relationship with it. Luckily, it is not all doom and gloom, and we can recover from this dependency. we can get back to that safe zone. We can learn to receive pleasure naturally again. And it begins by, again, being mindful to our triggers, whether that be certain people, places, or time of the day even. In the beginning, you will need to avoid the people and places that put you in temptation's way. And as for the time of day, best thing to do here is what I call a pattern interrupt. For example, if your risky zone is, say, between 5 and 7, 5 and 8 after work, you head straight to the fridge or to the pub or to your dealer or whatever. Instead, start a new activity, take a different road home, go help the kids with their homework, anything that interrupts the pattern, basically. That keeps you busy and keeps your mind off it. Ideally, if it could be pleasurable as well, so you can begin to get a dopamine hit from the activity. And if some exercise is involved, this will also help you. Will help you with sleep. Removes the stress because it flushes the cortisol, and eventually increases the motivation, making it easier to get up again and do it all tomorrow. Will it be easy? No, but neither will the alternative of continuing down the road of dependency. Granted, there are likely many other issues to be resolved, as I spoke about this during the week, such as why the feeling of emptiness or helplessness, despite appearing to be successful in life. There may be unresolved trauma, missing emotional needs, feelings of worthlessness, guilt or shame. And the Inner Focus to Recover program helps you deal with all these issues. And when you're ready or have had enough, you can simply book a free clarity call with me anytime. I'll leave the link in the comments below, or you can just PM me anytime. Have a great weekend, guys, and I'll be carrying on with this series I'll be going into this in more detail, obviously. Our emotional needs, what resources we have to get them met. And yeah, little by little you'll understand that there is a path, there is an effective system. So yeah, stay with us, follow us daily on this, and I'll carry on with the tips. Cheers, guys.